boys and girls. Today is May 12th, 2020. We're working with CKLA Unit 3, and our story today is The Two Dogs. Our objective is I can ask and answer questions orally and in writing about the story. I can talk about the illustrations, and the illustrations are the pictures. I can describe characters, setting, and events. And I can build simple and compound sentences. And our question today is, can you use an adjective to describe each dog? And I did not put my question mark. Let me read it again. Can you use an adjective to describe each dog? Because we know adjectives describe. We talked about nouns, and nouns name people, places, and things. We talked about verbs, and verbs show action, and adjectives describe. Today we're going to read a story, but before we do that, we're going to review some of the sounds. And we're going to review A blank E, as in A. Remember, A-E with the slanted lines is the sound. So A blank E as in A, and that would be same, make. E-E as in E, green, seed. O blank E as in O, stone. I blank E as in I, line, hide, and the tricky words, they. And then our words for in the story, the O blank E as in O would be home, shown, and rope. A blank E as in A would be tame, stared, safe, and plates. These are words that were going to be in our story, and our tricky words are one, once, and two. Some of the words that we're going to come across in our story, we may not know what they mean, so we're going to go over them. The word plump means that you're well fed and you're not thin. So once you've eaten a lot, you start to get a little fat, we say plump. Scraps are small pieces of leftover food. If you don't eat all of the food for dinner on your plate or for lunch, and you still have some pieces of it left, we call it scraps, and that's what we usually give to our dog. Tame, and we know we talked about tame because we talked about pets earlier in the year, means that they're animals that are living with people. They're not wild. And free means you're able to do what you want. Okay, when we read the story, we want to think about these things. So as we're reading it, when we get to that point, we should understand what these questions are asking. The first one is, were there any parts of the story that was confusing to you? And confusing means that you didn't quite understand what it said. So what do? You go back and you read it again to see if you can understand it better. Number 2 says, what do you think the dog does to keep the man safe? Because in the story, we're going to learn that he kept the man safe. But let's think about, what did he do to make the man safe? Number 3 says, why did the free dog think the tame dog has an easy life at first? Because at first in the story, the free dog did think that the tame dog had an easy life. But it changed by the end of the story. And let's think about why. Why do you think the free dog was thin? Because we talked about the word plump. Now remember, I asked you to use some adjectives to describe the dog. So think about those words. And number 5 says, what do you think is the lesson? Because remember, in a fable, we always learn a lesson. Give me my thing. So I'm going to read the story and with you, and then you're going to answer questions on your worksheet to do after this lesson is over. And so this is the two dogs. Once two dogs met. One of them was a tame dog who made his home with men. That means he lived with the men. Give me that pencil. One was a dog who ran free, which means he didn't have a house to live in. He could go wherever he wanted, whenever he wanted. So one was tame and one was free. The dog who ran free stared at the tame dog and said, "Why is it that you are so plump and I am so thin?" Now those are the adjectives. Let's look at the picture, because remember, one of our questions is can we describe illustrations? So here's the illustration, it's the picture. And here is the plump dog, and you can see his stomach makes him plump. Ordinarily, he will probably be like this. And we can't see the wild dog's whole body. But he's looking at him, and he sees he has a bone in his dish. So he's asking him, "Why are you so plump?" So the plump dog says, "Well," said the tame dog, "I am plump because the men feed me. I do not have to run all the time to get my food, because running is exercise and it keeps you in shape. My job is to keep the home safe when the men are in their beds." So if the men are in their beds, it means that it's day or night. And so here is that question. What does he do to keep the men safe? So let's think about, what could he do to keep them safe? What do you think? If the dog is awake and the men are sleeping, what do you think the dog does if he hears a noise or he sees someone coming close to the house? What do you think he'll do? Okay, do you think he'll bark and make some noise to scare the people away? When they wake up, they feed me scraps of food from their plates. So that's his reward for keeping them safe. So here he is, and he's talking. "Your life must be a fine life," said the thin dog. "I wish my life were like yours." The plump dog said, "If you will help me keep the home safe, I bet the men will feed you too." And this TOO means also. "I will do it," said the thin dog. So there is the thin dog. He has to fend for himself. He has to find his own food. He has to find his own shelter. But just as the thin dog said this, the moon shone on the neck of the plump dog. The thin dog said, "What is that on your neck?" "I am on a rope when the sun is up," said the plump dog. "Rope," said the thin dog. "Do they keep you on a rope?" So that means that that plump dog is not free because he's on a rope all day. So look at the picture. We have the plump dog, and you can't see the rope, but he has the collar, and the rope is attached to the collar. The thin dog doesn't have anything, so the thin dog can go wherever he wants. But the plump dog has to stay around in the daytime because he doesn't really need to guard the men in the day. But at night, they let him off so that he can run and chase anybody who should not be around. "Yes," said the plump dog, "when the moon is up, the men let me run free. But when the sun shines, they keep me on a rope." Now, why do you think he comes back and he's on a rope? Is it because he doesn't have to look for his food? He knows that if he comes back and he's on his rope, he gets food whenever he wants it. And so he's willing to give up running around during the day so that he doesn't have to look for food during the day or at night. I cannot run and be free when the sun is up, but it is not so bad. So let's see, what does the free dog think about that? So he's looking at the dog with that collar around his neck, and he has something hanging from it that probably has information about him. And so, no, no, said the thin dog as he ran off. I will not have a rope on my neck. You can be plump. I will be free. So the free dog decided it was better to be free, to be able to go where he wanted, whenever he wanted, and to have to look for his own food than to be tied on a rope and get fed his food. And I think that is the end. And there he is running free. So we're still going to use, as we write, we're still going to use this template to organize our thoughts before we rewrite them and write our story. So the name of the tale was what? 2 dogs. And the who means the characters, and the characters, they said it was the tame dog, and another word for tame is pet, and the free dog. Remember those adjectives. And where were they? Now, in the beginning of the story, were they in front of a house? It looks like they were in front. In the front of a house. Because it was during the day. And so remember, he was on a rope because it was daytime. He said when the moon was out, he was free. But when the moon was not out, he was on a rope. So we could say, once there were 2 dogs, comma, a tame, and let's put a comma, plump dog, and a thin, free dog. So should we put something else there? Once there were 2 dogs. See how you have to go back and read it to make sure that you have everything right. I didn't have my S. A tame, plump, and a thin, free dog. Now, I could have put a tame, plump dog, and I guess I should try to squeeze it in. A tame, plump dog, and a thin, free dog. Let's put our sentence here. The free dog thought, what did he think about the plump dog? That he had what? The free dog thought the plump dog had a good life. So that's basically what happened in the beginning of the story. Next in the tale, the free dog, what was he going to do? He was going to do what? To help the plump dog. But then what happened? After he saw something, but He saw a rope around the free dog's neck. Okay, let's see what we have so far. Once there were two dogs, a tame plump dog and a thin free dog. The free dog thought the plump dog had a good life. That happened in the beginning of the story. And then in the middle, next in the tale, the free dog was going to help the plump dog. But he saw a rope around the free dog's neck. And remember, we call this the plot, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So at the end of the tale, what happened? At the end of the tale, the free dog, and he decided on his own, that he wanted to be free. And so let's go over these questions now. Were any parts of the story confusing? And maybe at first you might have thought that the free and the tame dogs, maybe you thought that that was confusing. But once you read into the story, you should have realized that the tame dog was the one who lived with the people, and he was plump because he was fed every day, but he had to give up his freedom to be on a rope. And that the free dog was free because he could go wherever he wanted, but he had to fend for himself. He had to find places to be warm when it was cold, and he had to find his own food. What do you think the dog does to keep the man safe? And we talked about it, and we said probably he barks and chases anyone who comes near the house while the men are sleeping. And I guess he might bite them too if they don't run fast enough. Number 3 says, why did the free dog think the tame dog was an easy life? And we said that we thought he had it good because he got food whenever he wanted. Why do you think the free dog was thin? We said we thought the free dog was thin because he had to run a lot. So it helped to keep him in shape. And he probably didn't eat food every day because he had to find his own food. Number 5 says, what do you think is the lesson? So let's think about it. The free dog thought the tame dog had it good until he found out that the tame dog had to give up something. He gave up his freedom. And the free dog could have given up his freedom to have food, but he didn't want to. So I think, and you think about it, I'll give you a minute to think about what you think this lesson is, since we've talked about all of this. And maybe you're going to think the same thing that I think, that the free dog thought the tame dog had it good, but he really didn't. So things are not always what they seem. That could be one of the answers, that it looks like something, but it's not really what it looks like. And then also, you might think someone has it good when they really don't have it good. And then you can add down here to what you think how it ended and what the lesson of the story is. You're going to get the questions at the end of the story to fill out. It's going to say 4.1. And then what I'd like you to do after this is do what we did the last time. I don't have my sheet with me. But since we filled out this, go back and write the story like we did for King Crane and King Log. I think it's King Log and King Crane. Go take all of these words, these lines and all out, and write your story, still saying what happened first, what happened next, and then what happened at the end. Also, we're going to have a story. Since our story was about dogs, this is one of my favorite books. And so I pulled this up, and you know what it is? It's Harry the Dirty Dog. Where is Harry? And we have Harry by the Sea and Harry and the Lady Next Door. But this is the very first one, Harry and the Dirty Dog. Oh, Harry the Dirty Dog, I'm sorry.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct, but it's wordy and hard to read.
Where is the...
It undermines the writer's message, and the word choice is bland.
It's an advertisement.
I know, but usually, oh, here it is. Usually you can skip it.
Understandable writing.
Harry the Dirty Dog by Jean Zion. Pictures by Margaret Bloy Graham. Harry was a white dog.
Pull it down. What happened?
You pause.
With black spots, who liked everything except getting a bath. So one day, when he heard the water running in the tub, he took the scrubbing brush and buried it in the backyard. Then he ran away from home. He played where they were fixing the street and got very dirty. He played at the railroad and got even dirtier. He played tag with other dogs and became dirtier still. He slid down the coal chute and got the dirtiest of all. In fact, he changed from a white dog with black spots to a black dog with white spots. Although there were many other things to do, Harry began to wonder if his family thought that he had really run away. He felt tired and hungry too, so without stopping on the way, he ran back home. When Harry got to his house, he crawled through the fence and sat looking at the back door. One of the family looked out and said, "There's a strange dog in the backyard. By the way, has anyone seen Harry?" When Harry heard this, he tried very hard to show them that he was Harry. He started to do his old clever tricks. He flip-flopped and he flop-flipped. He rolled over and played dead. He danced and he sang. He did these tricks over and over again, but everyone shook their heads and said, "Oh no, it couldn't be Harry." Harry gave up and walked slowly toward the gate, but suddenly he stopped. He ran to a corner of the garden and started to dig furiously. Soon he jumped away from the hole, barking short, happy barks. He'd found the scrubbing brush and carried it in his mouth. He ran into the house. Up the stairs he dashed, with the family following close behind. He jumped into the bathtub and sat up begging, with the scrubbing brush in his mouth, a trick he certainly had never done before. "This little doggy wants a bath," cried the little girl, and her father said, "Why don't you and your brother give him one?" Harry's bath was the soapiest one he'd ever had. It worked like magic. As soon as the children started to scrub, they began shouting, "Mommy, Daddy, look, look, come quick! It's Harry, it's Harry, it's Harry!" they cried. Harry wagged his tail and was very, very happy. His family combed and brushed him lovingly, and he became once again a white dog with black spots. It was wonderful to be home. After dinner, Harry fell asleep in his favorite place, happily dreaming of how much fun it had been getting dirty. He slept so soundly he didn't even feel the scrubbing brush he'd hidden under his pillow.
So, boys and girls, Harry was a tame dog, but he did not live on a rope like the tame dog in our story. So Harry did have a good life. Okay, see you tomorrow, boys and girls. Bye.